All right, now, regular, we've actually booked in, and I'm delighted to say we've booked in to have a sort of a review of the week with David Seymour, ACT Party leader, on a relatively regular basis. So it's nice to do that and for David to join us now. David, welcome to the show. Where would you rather be, Paris or Auckland?
Well, of course, as a New Zealand politician, I have to say Auckland. I can't say I'd rather be in another country while people are struggling through the winter with the challenging economy. You guys will be fine.
Yes, but you'd be lying. Come on.
But I think you also know what the true answer is for any sane person. And I can only imagine that the Olympic Committee must have some budget constraints, and they couldn't justify putting the team up in Paris for another couple of weeks. I imagine that the accommodation rates in Paris must be very high.
Well, yeah, but if they're in the village, we assume it goes that you get it for free. But there you go. Mind you, they're sleeping on cardboard beds apparently, so maybe that's something to do with it. Hey, listen, you've had a bit of a week in actual fact. Let's deal with Karen Chhour first. You're in a bit of a scrap at the moment with the Speaker. Can I say that I've been in Parliament, so have you a number of occasions. I don't think I'd be crying if somebody in Maori called me a puppet. Is there some other story there, David, that we're missing?
Well, actually, I think there is a real issue here, which is about what do we mean by racism? What do we mean by human rights? Because these guys are really saying that Karen is the wrong kind of Maori, and that a Maori person has to believe certain things, or you're not a real Maori person. So it's a bit more than calling you a puppet. It's like saying you're not a real, whatever your ethnic background is, because people of your ethnic background must think a certain way. And that is a sort of a different level of offensiveness in my view.
Okay, and then your other argument is that I think one of the other ACT MPs shouldn't be chairing one of the committees to deal with hearing the Section 7AA bill submissions because they're not Maori. Is that an argument that came from both Te Pāti Māori and the Greens, David?
Te Pāti Māori and supported by someone from the Greens. And the proposition was that Laura Trask, who, it shouldn't matter, but or best described as a New Zealand European woman from Christchurch, she was proposed to be the chair of the subcommittee to hear public submissions on Section 7AA. And a couple of the other MPs said, it'd be better if it was someone who was Maori or Pacific because the submitters won't see themselves in you. And the suggestion there is that, you elect to represent you in Parliament, but actually they may be disqualified from doing their job on your behalf because of the wrong racial background. And I just think that is intolerable in a modern society. If there's one thing we, stand against, it's the idea that you can be held back by something that you're unable to change about yourself, whether it's your gender or your, sexuality or your race. We believe that, what people do today should matter more than something that happened perhaps years before they were born.
No, fair enough. But this has led you into conflict with the Speaker of the House. And he does not appear to be shifting his position, which led to other minor infractions this week between the two of you. Can this be reconciled, or is this where you are just going to have an intractable sort of guerrilla war with the Speaker over the next 18 months?
Well, obviously you'd hope to reconcile it, but I mean the core of the issue here is that the standards are dropping. And people who are in Parliament feel the place has been toxic. Some MPs have said that they hesitate to walk the corridors because of the sniping of the behaviour that is going on. And our argument is the Speaker is given enormous power and enormous trust. The Speaker should be standing up for the rights of MPs to come to the workplace and do the job, which is representing the New Zealanders who voted them. So it really goes to the core of our democracy that you as a citizen have a right to send someone to Parliament to speak on your behalf who can't be easily intimidated, discriminated against or otherwise suppressed. Because when you do that, you're actually, in a representative democracy, suppressing the voice of the people they're representing. And the Speaker has a duty to stand up for them.
Are you intimidated yourself, David, though? I mean, do you personally think it's any more toxic now than it's been since you were elected for the first time?
Well, put it this way, I'm an electrical engineer, so I'm rather impervious to most human and emotional affairs. But certainly other MPs have told me they are, and as the leader of ACT, it's my job to stand up for them, and as a parliamentarian, it's my job to uphold the standards of this institution so that when I'm gone, future New Zealanders will still have the ability to elect people to get on with it. So, look, it's not about me or how I feel. I'm, relatively thick-skinned. You'd have to be after the last 10 years I've had. But that doesn't mean that because I think it's okay that others should put up with it.
Yeah, and you've got a large number of new MPs coming into the House as well. Does that make it better or easier? I imagine for some it's a shock to the system because they wouldn't accept that kind of behaviour in the workplace anywhere, public or private sector. For others, it's they're probably unable to restrain their emotions as much as they should. Is that a fair comment?
I would say that a lot of the bad behaviour is coming from the new MPs, and the thing is that they're not being inducted into a culture of respect for the institution. They're not being forced to learn the standing orders because oftentimes the Speaker is not upholding the standing orders, so why would they learn them? They're not being forced to be respectful because the Speaker is not forcing them to be respectful. Oftentimes they'll make egregious breaches of the rules, and the Speaker will say, oh, that's okay, you just have another go. Well, actually, when I was elected, we had Speakers that were tough on upholding the rules, and you had to learn them, and you had to be respectful of the other MPs and the institution. And if you didn't, you're at risk of getting thrown out, which certainly happened to me a few times. We're not doing that now. We're just saying it's open cyber, and that ultimately reduces the functioning of our democracy.
Is it particularly a problem with Te Pāti Māori?
Well, I think they're some of the worst offenders. A lot of the things that they're saying, are deeply offensive, as I mentioned. It seems to be this idea that, if you are Māori, you have to think in a certain way, and if you don't, then you're not a proper Māori. And it's not just ACT MPs, it's also James Meagher from the Nats was, called a Nazi because, he's been effective at getting attention for Māori who have a different view from them. And they seem to be much more severe on Māori people because they believe that Māori people have to think a certain way. Well, I just don't agree with that. I've got Māori ancestry myself, and I'm entirely free to think as I choose.